Brother, there's a red light over there, man. That means that we are live, my man.
We're
How are you?
live.
Yeah, good to see you, my man. Good to see you.
Well, since we're live, maybe we should introduce ourselves a little bit because,
Do we? Really? Do we?
yeah, do we introduce ourselves?
Well, look, check that out. There's a name under there, right? There's a name. That is my brother, Dale Walsh, Rodolfo De Angeli over here. But hey, if they don't know it, they're gonna know us. Don't worry about that one. Okay.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want to tell a little story about yourself, you can definitely do that.
Okay. Well, I'll tell a little story about myself. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia at Dartmouth College in 1975. So I'm a old guard survivor of schizophrenia. I've been dealing with it for 47 years, but at this point, the schizophrenia is sort of like a minor chapter. Well, it's not a minor chapter, but it's a minor attribute of myself, because I'm also a poet. I'm a writer. I wrote 10 books before I graduated, or 6 books before I graduated from college, and since then I've been doing poetry, and I have an archive of at least like 4,200 poems, and basically I help people deal with I help family caregivers deal with the challenges of having a loved one who's schizophrenic.
Wow, that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Yeah, man. It's our story is funny because we met on a podcast, on one of my podcasts, and we became friends since. It was one of the greatest podcasts that I definitely had. It was super impactful, extremely emotional, very raw, and we became friends. And then we decided to do this. So to keep this whole thing honest, this is actually the 19th. This is the 19th podcast that we're recording, but today we're going live for the first time. So soon, very, very soon, you'll be getting access to all of the podcasts that just came before this. So our introduction podcast plus 1 to 18. So that's all going to come soon. But today we thought, you know what, let's do something different. Let's bring it out there and just let's have a conversation, open and raw, as we usually do by ourselves. And today I thought to just put it out there and have a bit of fun with it.
Well, actually, I sort of had an agenda I had planned for today. If you listen to the podcast, and you'll know that I always do a poem every week. So I thought we could begin with the poem because I had like a family meeting with NAMI last night. I was a guest speaker at a NAMI event. NAMI is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. Is like the largest grassroots mental illness organization in the country, and they have chapters. And so actually one of the chapters just reached out to me rather randomly and asked me to be a guest speaker. But when I was like getting ready for that meeting, I came up. I'm also into Peter Sage, and Peter Sage was a Tony Robbins trainer. I know you're involved with that, Rodolfo. But Peter Sage is always. I think this is an idea that Tony Robbins expresses about the 6 fundamental human needs, about certainty, uncertainty, significance and love, and then growth and contribution, and how all human behavior can be can come down to one of those 6 needs that people are fulfilling. And what happened last night was I wasn't even thinking about the needs, but I just had this revelation, and I go to tarot readings and Instagram and everything, and when a tarot reading said I'm going to come up with $1 million idea that's going to change my life. And I think this might be the $1 million idea, because I came up with 2 new needs that I feel are essential to all human behavior. And I don't know if how far it's going to go, but it's the need for uniqueness and the need for understanding. And I defined schizophrenia in terms of those two needs. And when I wrote down um, boundaries of the uh, boundaries of the behavior of the need to be unique come into conflicts with the limits of the culture's need to understand. And I thought that was like pretty genius. Let me repeat that. The schizophrenia is when the boundaries of the behavior of the need to be unique come into conflict with the limits of the cultural need to understand. So I thought that basically covered like everything, I meant because it talks about the individual person with schizophrenia, like, basically being out of sync with the whole culture. And that's why it's like taken so seriously and everything. And so I thought I actually wrote a poem about uniqueness. I don't know if you want to do that now or talk about it first, but
Yeah, absolutely. You're on, brother. You're on. You're in
I'm on
flow.
a
Let's
roll.
flow, brother. Let's flow.
Okay, well, so this is the poem I came up with. It's called, and this is yesterday's poem, so this is hot off the press. It's called
Right, nice.
"How I Conceived the Planet." Earth is led by the paths of the uniques, even if many think them to be freaks, because they forge their own distinctive trails, to remaining positive when all else fails, often condemned to life of solitude, so lonely and yet they do not complain, subjected to people who can be rude, as they are often judged to be insane. But luckily they remain true to self and refuse to fight the flow of their life, no matter how great the external strife, since they will not put their dreams on a shelf. So I consider myself a pure soul, who soon to the world will get on a roll.
Ooh, nice. Nice. Nice.
But
Nice, brother.
that
Yeah,
that
nice.
that's actually what I call a zunette. And a zunette is a traditional sonnet. It's 14 lines, 10 beats a line, and but a traditional sonnet has like a regular rhyme scheme, whereas a zunette, which is my form, has a different rhyme scheme for every 4 lines. So and then a closing couplet. So I'm just trying to prove I'm a genius today.
Because you're a genius, brother. You're a genius, man. Wow, that's awesome. Look at you smiling. I really love it. I love when when we get together and I can see this thing, this drive, this joy of life, right? This is and both of us have been in places where perhaps we didn't have that. We were perhaps in a darker place where we thought, man, there was life will never change. And maybe it's going to be like this forever, right? And that's a lot of people go through things in life, and they believe that nothing will ever change, right? Where now proving, that it does change. You just got to persevere. You just got to hang in there. You just got to stay authentic. Don't get caught into the big pool of the outside world that just wants to scatter you even more, but just stay present. And all of a sudden, we get to that place of,
Well, that's one thing that Peter Sage talks about is refusing to swim in the goop. Do you know what goop is?
yeah. So I don't know goop, but I can
So
imagine.
goop is the good opinion of other people.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
So I mean, this is what the poem's about, and this is what I was talking about uniqueness is everybody is unique. And, but it's been my mission since I got taken away from Dartmouth, and put in a hospital and been diagnosed and everything. Everything I did and everything I have done basically has been an effort to prove my uniqueness. And like, what's the most unique concept? It's God. and therefore, so therefore, I meant I got taken away from Dartmouth because I was walking around campus saying I was God and everything. And I meant it as a joke, but we won't go into that at this point. But but what is the most unique concept? The most unique concept is God. And I mean, I think the need for uniqueness, every person seeks uniqueness and wants to be distinctive and stand out and everything, but ultimately it takes a lot of courage to be yourself. And when the true self is God, but it's also unique. But so many people get pulled down, the crab syndrome. When if you have like crabs in a bucket, and one crab tries to climb out of the bucket, all the other crabs will bring him down. I mean, and it's like so it's I mean, my journey's been through. I mean, even though I haven't had one in 30 years, I had 15 hospitalizations, and I meant because I refused to compromise myself, and I didn't really know what I was doing a lot of the time, but I knew I had to be myself. And if that put me in conflict, that has put me in conflict with the culture and with the people I love and everything. But ultimately, I've come out much better. And the other thing this brings up is the more shit you go through, the greater will be your reward, ultimately. And I'm really finally getting to that point after 68 years, Rodolfo, where I'm starting to see the abundance and the joy and the rewards from all the crap I've gone through since I was taken away from Dartmouth 48 years ago.
Yeah, it's the moment, behind this T-shirt. Actually, I can turn around. You can see it. It says give love, give pain so much love to turn it into happiness. And I found that was detrimental for my own journey, healing and growth and all of that. Rather than push away all of the things that happened, really embrace them, really take them in, lean into them, and really understand them, but give it love rather than rejecting. Try to just take them in because they are a part of you, right? I mean, we all strive for light and glamour and flying high and whatever. But reality is we got darkness as well. We are souls of lights and darkness. So if we manage to balance those two, we become whole. The moment we start to reject something and we actually accept it, that it is us, we become whole, and that is the change of our life, because now we don't need to hide this to bring this out, but we can just be who we are, and we understand that we have gifts, but we also have flaws, which keeps us humble and always keeps us to keep moving forward in a way of being mindful that you don't take things for granted. Things can change very rapidly. So there's no point trying to be something that you are not, just to be liked or loved by someone else. That then puts you into a position where you always have to portray this role that eventually there is one day that you will not be able to, because perhaps you might forget the lines about your role, and you might use someone else's, the role that you use for someone else. And so you use those lines for the wrong person, and all of a sudden the whole spiel falls apart. So the moment we can really stay true to ourselves, it's when everything comes together, and you really can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I really love this person that I see over there. I'm really proud of that person, no matter what happened. But I know I always try to grow and always try to embrace everything that comes and accept it and do good with it. So our journey started in a great way a couple of years ago now, and I think it was a great moment of realization, right, about yourself as well. I guess the conversation was with you then, but it does miracles, the moment we start to really embrace who we are, and let go of all the other bullshit that people want to, or society wants you to believe that is important.
Well, my timeline was I when on my in my 20th year I went I had like my delusion and I had my break from Dartmouth, and so basically for the next 5 6 years I was in the psychiatric program, but basically I feel that like for the next 10 years I was in a state of constant psychosis. I mean I wasn't hospitalized all the time. I was hospitalized more than a few times, but but ultimately I hated myself so much that for being sick, for being a schizophrenic, that ultimately uh, I committed what I call psychic suicide because we've gotten into this a few times, but I had this vision of seeing the world uh, incinerated in a thermonuclear holocaust, and the whole world just blew up, and like out of nowhere, and it was just like, and I called that the death of Dale, and I don't know like who engineered that, but being responsible for myself, I have to say that Dale did it to himself, and therefore it was like a psychic suicide. I mean, the body survived, and I became Dewey for the next 30 years until Dale came back. But the personality of Dale and the whole delusional structure that I had built my reality upon was like instantly incinerated by that moment, and but it was the only thing that could get me out of my delusion, and ultimately you know you have to embrace it. You have to embrace the shadows, but uh, you know that's not so easy because there's things about yourself that just like disgust you. I mean, everybody has moments, things that disgust them and everything, and it's a matter of like working through it, and also it's a matter of time. Just being able to get a perspective. I mean, there's um, so, but and oh, I mean, once I had that vision and the death of Dale occurred, then I could start to love myself again. But ultimately, I couldn't love myself because I was like so anti Dale because I'd been caught in this mental illness, and I mean, so basically, like the first 10 years of my illness, I had like no recovery. I mean, I learned how to cope and everything, and stay out of the hospital and everything, but there was no progress, and it wasn't until I actually like experienced some sort of like psychic suicide that I could really start to see myself for the person that I was, and see that I was a beautiful person, and also see that I didn't deserve to hate myself.
Yeah, the that day is a beautiful moment. When you realize, well, enough with the fight, enough with pushing, enough of wishing it was different, but let's just stop. Just let's just take it in. You know what I mean? It was yesterday. It was funny. I was exercising in the morning, and I was lifting some weights, and you lift and lift and lift until you can't lift anymore, and then what do, right? You put the weight down automatically. It's like, man, I can't lift this no more. I gotta put this down. And then I realize, in life we don't do that. Oftentimes in life we don't do that. We're lifting all this weight about life, about things that happen to us, and so on, but we choose to not put that shit down, and we just keep carrying it for the rest of our life. And that's when the diseases come in, from mental illnesses, the anxieties, the depression, all of that kind of stuff. But even more severe, cancer and whatever else that comes from diseases, just because we don't put that thing down. Where any time else, might we go shopping, might we go training, might we do whatever it is, and we carry something, the moment we can't carry anymore, we just put it down automatically. It's not rocket science at all, right?
Right.
Yet in life we don't do that. We tend to hold on to this thing because we believe we just have to, and it's going to be like this forever. So our knees are buckling, our back is in pain and everything, yet we still hold on. You know what I mean? Where the moment we realize like when you go shopping and your bag is too heavy and you stop for a moment and put it down to recover. But we should do that in life as well. When shit gets too heavy, just put that thing down. It's a signal for you to just say, man, it's enough is enough. So yeah, it's that awareness. When we get to that place of that awareness, and all of a sudden we can make that little adjustment, man, all of a sudden life changes. But let me ask you a question. What did you speak about on your
My Navy speech.
speaking engagement yesterday?
I spoke about that sentence that I just read you, but basically I just told him my story, and then had like some reflections about delusions, and how delusion is like, it's not a single belief. I mean, this is something that I can riff on. Is a delusion isn't a single belief. It's like a whole, well structured, well conceived, logical structure of thought that's false, but you don't see it's false, but ultimately you believe it. But it's like at the very foundation of your identity. Your identity is who you are. There's personality and identity, but your identity is really your core self and everything. And delusion is like a set of beliefs, a structure, a belief system at the core of yourself that identifies your identity. And I mean, that's why it took that vision of the of a thermonuclear incineration of the earth to get me out of my God delusion, because it was only then that I saw how sick it was to. I mean, this is something else I talked about. It was only then that I saw how sick I had been thinking I was God. And why is it wrong to think you're God? Well, the bottom line is gratitude and humility are the two greatest components of success on planet Earth. And if you think you're God, then you don't have gratitude and you don't have humility. And I only realized that like recently. I only came up with that idea that gratitude and humility are like the foundation of like success. But ultimately, when I said I was God, I was like I was so focused on being in control that I basically turned off the ability of the universe to help me control things.
Mm.
And that's one thing I talked about. And then I talked about usual things like medications and stuff like that. But basically, I think it was like what is delusion? How to help people get out of delusions, and then the uniqueness versus the understanding, which I thought, which I really wanted to like explore a little bit.
Yeah, how was it received?
Everybody said, "Thank you, you've given us hope," which is what I live for. I mean that's the momentum for why I speak out about my schizophrenia and why I want to help people, help family caregivers, is to give them hope. Because every time I've spoken, at least like 2 or 3 people just come up to me and afterwards and say, "Thank you, you've given us hope," and it always like chokes me up, and it's like that's just, I mean, I haven't been paid for speaking yet. I know that's coming, but that the money isn't the reason I do it. Is to instill a hope in people who are in despair because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we spoke about this many times, and I spoke about my career in construction. 30 years. Pretty much from 20 whatever started. Well, I started at 14 until 49, 48 years old, and we did incredible amount of money in that business and so on. Yet the fulfillment and joy that I get today when I work with people, and see the transformation, see those lights, go back on in their eyes, in their soul, and you realize that there's something, something changed with what you shared, or because what you shared, and nothing came from us. It was, we were
Right.
guided all along. It's not ours. I never, either in my mentoring nor in our retreats, and do I ever claim that what people receive is from me. That it's never. All I am is I guess like a little puppet to something way bigger than me, and all of a sudden, life get transformed, and it's beautiful. There's nothing more joyful and fulfilling to see someone else's life being impacted in a positive way, and hopefully, they can bring the transformation not only for themselves, but to the people all around, and to everybody that walks on their path, that comes across their path. And I think that's the beauty about life, and of course, both of us went through, the darker side of our life, the depressions, the anxiety, for you, schizophrenia, and so forth. And well, like I said, when we are in there, we think this never ends, this will never change. Yet, with the right help, the right guidance, the commitment and perseverance and hope and trust and faith and all of that, eventually everything changes. And then all of a sudden you become at service of something much bigger. And that's the beauty about it, because we realize, that perhaps that was life's lesson, life's school that I had to go through. And yeah, so, many times it's not very pleasant. Yet the cause is so much bigger. And so it makes it enduring so much easier. Of course, in the hindsight, because once you're in it, you don't really think that way. Yet when you trust that, this is not my story, this is not how I will go out of here. Even though in my case, I did attempt suicide 13 years ago. But at that place, I definitely didn't have the same view on life that I have today. And so, if you and I can impact even just one soul before we get out of here, in a positive way through our story, I believe we came here to do something good. And that's beautiful. And that's probably the reason why, I do this with you every Saturday, because I know your mission, I know your commitment, I know your struggles in the past and perhaps present, like mine, like everybody that is doing something impactful, that sometimes believes that they don't have what it takes. They believe that, it's not good enough. I'm not that person or this person, sometimes we can get trapped into that. Yet the moment that we realize, well, I'm not that person, I don't need to be that person, I just need to be me, and that's going to be good enough. And so I'm gonna, do what I know best, which is share the story and share what I've learned. And so that's beautiful, brother. I am actually also thinking of putting myself out there and talking and speaking. And so I am definitely looking into that, perhaps around my area, anything to do with mental illness and depression and anxiety and stuff like that. I go and share my story and so on. And the fact that you said, I don't get paid, I didn't get paid to speak. I'll let you into a little secret. A lot of people, very successful people, so there's two people that speak, and they operate very differently. One person goes out to speak to be paid, or be paid to speak, and the other one goes out and gets paid to serve. And I think I am more drawn to the second part. What does that mean? Like, there is speaker out there that go out and they want to be paid to speak and to share their message, where there's other people that go for free and share the message, yet then are able to share also what they offer, what they have, what they can do for people. And that's how they get paid. So the money doesn't just go and tell a story, but the money comes in because they serve someone else. You know what I mean? And I think, I think when you do your speaking engagement, there's a particular formula for that, and I can definitely give that to you offline. That when you do get asked to speak, you just bring in this particular formula. And what that means is that you're then able to actually promote what you do with the people, and
Right.
and that is so much more impactful. And so it's not the promoter that will pay you, but actually the people that you will be able to serve. That's the beauty about things, you know. Life has so many lessons and so many things that we go through. Yet when you rise above that, you know, you allow yourself to go through that journey and through the pain, through the discomfort, but you allow yourself to get out of the other side, and then you put yourself out there to serve others. I don't think there's anything more beautiful in life. You know what I mean?
Well,
So it's great to hear that you started to do that, and definitely pushes me to do a little bit more of that as well. You know,
Well,
but yeah, man.
the law of compensation says you're rewarded for to the degree that you serve people, basically. So
Absolutely.
I mean, it might not be in like dollars and cents, but like I say, that feeling of like people coming up to me and saying, "Thank you, you gave us hope." That's just like so like overwhelmingly, I'm so overwhelmingly grateful that I can do that. I meant, and I mean, I'm, I've never been like focused on money, but it's finally coming about that. I mean, I've been doing wealth development work and affirmations and stuff, basically for the last 4 to 5 months, and it's finally coming around, and it's like great. I'm finally, I don't have to worry about like paying for a slice of pizza anymore. I mean, it's that basic at this point. But it's also like when in my financial education we learn about compound interest, and you invest money and it grows very slowly for the first 10 years, but then after like 12 years, instead it like goes like that. It's exponential growth. And as I said, I've been dealing with schizophrenia for 47 years, and but basically, I've been trying to build my do live love business for the family caregivers for the last 5 years, and it's finally starting to like take off, not only in interest but also just in like the fulfillment that I'm finding from the work. And and so yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate in my life because my parents like were able to support me. I mean, I never had to worry about like not having a roof over my head. I've never been. I mean, because that's one of the dilemmas of mental illness is that so many people that are homeless are mentally ill, and it's like and I was very fortunate that I never had to worry about it. Really, I mean, I had to worry about paying my phone bill, but that's like really minor compared to like wondering, you've been on the street for 6 months and you don't know where you can get a can of Coke, or a bottle of water. So I understand my blessings and how blessed I've been, but ultimately, so money has never really been my focus, but now it is becoming a focus just because I feel this time, I deserve a life of luxury and or leisure and ease. And and I think for a long time I was under the spell of the starving poet. If you're a poet, you got to be starving. You can't be successful. And so I'm finally like changing that. And I've been studying the law of attraction and everything, and it's all a matter of vibe, Rodolfo. If you can like, the more you improve your vibration, the more good will come into your life. And that's something that I wanted to say about this show is, I know that a lot of people might not like us because we express ideas that basically aren't in the mainstream and everything, but ultimately the people who follow us and who like us or even love us are the people of the same vibration as we are. And we're at a very high vibration, and more and more the gap between the low vibration people and the high vibration people is becoming evident. And so just we just got to do what we got to do and work on our vibration, and the higher we get our vibration, the more successful and the more copacetic people will be joining us.
Yeah, I like the thought for sure that you have for sure. Yet I gotta say, the fact, you and I were both in a low, using the vibration part, example that you just made. You and I were both in a low vibration at a spot at a time in our life, and I gotta say, sometimes even today, I'm, there are days that I am in a low vibration. Yet the moment I am in a low vibration, I can go some places where there is someone that perhaps is able to bring me up. So rejecting those people and just talking to high vibration people, I don't think this is what we do. I think what we do, or what I feel I want to do, is, I want to speak especially to people at a low vibration, because someone that is at a high vibration, they know already how to do it, and perhaps they just gonna fire that back, and it's gonna replenish you and so on. But the service comes. It's like Plato's cave, right? You can get unchained, get out of the cave, realize the truth, and walk into the truth, and let everything behind go, and forget about everyone that is with you or was with you in the cave. Or you take that bit of wisdom that you now have, go back into that cave and help liberate the other people, and together go into the sunset. You know what I mean? So I think for me, it's definitely, I never forget where I come from. I never forget that there was time in my life where I didn't know. I never forget there was time in my life where I was so lost that I barely knew my name. And yet there was someone there that reached out, that just reached out, rather than say, well, he's way too far gone. Let me just carry on, where right. It's, so I always want to make, that is the part that keeps me humble, that keeps me humble. I always say to every client that I work with, there is a time in sessions and work we do that I can feel, the transformation. I can feel that thing happening for them, and it's beautiful. Yet there is some points that I would always say, do not forget where you come from. Meaning, do not fly high, because there's no, I'm not a tough puppy syndrome kind of person. If you're doing well, fucking say it. You don't be embarrassed, because everybody say, oh, don't show off, don't do that. It's bullshit. If you're doing well, if it's good, if you know something, you say it. It's okay. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Yet I always want to make sure that we also know the beginning of this story. Where was I 13 years ago? Where was I just in 2018 when we did lose a 7-figure business? When, yes, my wife was diagnosed with cancer and we had no money and we had to rebuild everything. Where were we then? So, I feel the service we do is definitely, it's great to talk with people that are on your level, and I don't even think there is levels. Right. In that matter, because otherwise we go into duality and me against you, or me better than you, or me higher than you. I don't believe in any of that. I think we are just all the same, and perhaps someone is just a couple of steps or a half a step in front, or perhaps has read that extra chapter in the book, and now it's a matter of sharing the chapter, not stopping. I don't believe we should stop to share the chapter, because that would then not allow you to keep going and to keep growing, and all of a sudden you can go into that lower vibration, as you say, yet keep walking as you share, because the people who really want to do the same thing, they will just come with, they will just and they will share something from them. Because I remember Ty Lopez sharing a very important lesson with me, 10, 11 years ago. And he said, you have to have three types of people around you. People that are 20 years in front of you, people that are on the same level of you, and people that are behind you. So the people in front of you will inspire you to keep going. The people that are on your level, you're able to conversate in a way that reflects with each other. And then the people behind you, now I'm saying behind you just for the sake of this conversation, are the people who you now are able to serve. And I always love that way of seeing life. You know, having three types of people around you: the one in front, the one on this as you, and the one that are coming. You know, because we are the same for someone else. We might be for someone in 20 years ahead of us, we are the one behind, right? And so they are still progressing, they're still growing, they're still going, yet they are serving us to go with them. Obviously, the moment we stop going, that's the moment they will stop serving, because again, because they are walking, you know, all of a sudden it will detach, you know, the relationship and so on. So I really feel that way, you know. I really feel that way, that we are here to serve, and whoever listens, for me, in my humble opinion, anyone that listens, it's humbling to me, because sometimes I do think, you know, who the heck wants to listen to you? You know what I mean? But, you know, working with Tony for so many years, you know, and he said the same thing. There's so many times that I'm, you know, because before he goes on stage, he goes on a rebounder and gets into state and whatever. But sometimes he thinks still today, as freaking 62-year-old Tony Robbins, who has done this for 45 years, he still thinks, man, who am I to share this? Yet that is the moment we are more involved with our own ego rather than from a place of service. And so it's not about who is going to listen to me, but rather who can I serve today, right? And it's beautiful, because in the morning I get emails from clients and so on. They got to send through some emails and, you know, accountability and so on and so forth. And you know, the morning is amazing, because you hear, you know, you read all these things. Of course, there are, you know, email that comes through with challenges and so on that need to be addressed and so on. But you can see the beauty about people evolving, and the beauty about, you know, the people that are on this journey, and allow me to serve them. You know, just a young lady in her early 30s just signed up on Tuesday from the UK. And, you know, I'm on the other side of the globe. I would have never thought in a million years that I would be able to do so. Yet someone trusts in you and your message and what you have done, and how you know, perhaps how you live your life or whatever, that it could have an impact to them. And they actually exchange money, you know, to get that wisdom from you, or the help, the support. And honestly, I used to make 300 grand a month with my construction company, and I don't make anything close to that right now. But there's nothing more fulfilling, literally nothing more fulfilling. You know, there's a little book. Grab this little book I got here. This little book, you know, it's a funny little book that I got here from that we give to people to sign, you know, to write stuff in there. You know, they write little notes and you know, and sometimes when I get a little bit unresourceful and a little bit, you know, why am I doing this kind of thing? You know, because we all go through that. You know, I go back and read this type of stuff, you know, from people who have been impacted. You know, it's just beautiful. I think that's the beauty about life: going through a challenge, going through whatever life has for us, and then share it with someone else and make someone else's path just a little bit easier. So like someone else did that for us, right? So I think life is a beautiful thing. Not always easy, but you know, if you persevere, good things happen.
Well, I agree. I definitely like the analogy and agree with the analogy of the three types of people. And I don't want to be misinterpreted, because I don't want to like say, well, you know, if we have a high vibe, we're only like appealing to people with the same vibe. But what I was talking about is, there's been proven that, like different emotions have different vibrations, and the higher the emotion, then the higher the ability of that emotion to bring up people at a lower vibration. And so if you're like vibrating at 100, at a scale of 100 in anger, and you run across someone with 500 at love, then his vibration is going to bring you up. Your vibration is never going to bring him down. So that's basically what I was talking about. Is like people who are open to like having their vibration brought up. But one thing you stimulating my memory. I knew there was another thing I said yesterday at my talk that I forgot when. But basically, I said, I feel I was given schizophrenia to be able to like get to the point where I am now, where I can like help people deal with it. And I really feel that I went into it a little bit and said, basically, I feel you write your life before you come to Earth. I feel you might not write like the details, but you at least like you write like a general picture of what your life on Earth is going to be before you're even conceived, and then you're born and everything, and you live out your life and everything. But from that perspective, my schizophrenia has been like the greatest gift that ever happened to me, because it's gotten me to the point where I know I can understand, I can overcome anything. And I mean, one of my mottos is after insanity, everything's a breeze. Because ultimately, I feel that my calling, that God, or I chose to, more specifically, I chose to come to this incarnation with this schizophrenic delusion that I'm God, in order to be able not only to overcome and to understand what the essence of God was, but also to be able to bring that essence to as many people as possible. And I mean, you might say that I'm so delusional and everything, but I don't think so. I feel that this is like an agreement I made with the angels, or with whoever, with the higher powers, before I came to Earth. And when I was in the midst of my psychosis, I talked about biogenetic predestination a lot, and how everything is predestined, and therefore it was like predestined that I would like have the break at Dartmouth and come to the program. And but what and then I had the vision of death of Dale. And once that vision was like basically the point where my predestined life stopped, and then I could start living with free will, because everything else was just like a program to live through, to get to the point where I could be out, where I could like be free of the ego that was like projecting false delusions into the world. So so that's it. That's another thing I talked about in my talk yesterday. Is don't, rather than saying why is this happened to us, and what, poor us, and what was it? I mean, it is very hard. It's very difficult to have a loved one who's schizophrenic. But rather than like, doing the to me, the victim situation of why is this happening to me, look at the situation as for me and say, well, this was the reason we were chosen to be the parents of this boy or this girl who has schizophrenia. And it's not only did he choose to have schizophrenia, but he chose us as his parents to help him through it. And I'm sure like I'll get a lot of pushback on this the more I develop it, but that's really what my experience has been. And I feel that it's part of my calling that God gave me in this life, to be able to overcome the schizophrenia, to be able to give insights and to help enlighten people about the illness, because it's such a bitch illness. Nobody understands schizophrenia, but I feel I do to a large degree, because I've gone through everything with it. You're muted. Something's go.
Yeah, so I gotcha. I'm saying there's nothing else that can give you the same lessons. You can't you can't learn that in a book. You just can't learn that. And I'm working with a psychiatrist at the moment, and it's amazing. 63 years old, has done psychiatry all her life, yet what we are doing with her at the moment, going through her trauma and all of that. She said, "Man, I question myself now if I ever helped anyone after knowing what I'm learning here, and that is, first of all, it's humbling, but second of all, it's also scary of, what happens when people who perhaps haven't, found the right tools to solve an issue, or get someone to that next step in their life, or get them through that anxiety or depression or trauma or whatever, not with coping mechanism, but actually heal and actually get them to rise above. And you can't learn those methodology in a book. And that's what I've been saying all along. But now with this lady, when she shares, from her side and point of view, it's definitely making more and more sense. So yeah, man. So what's happening next? What's going on? It's Friday night in your end.
Las Vegas on July 11th for my financial education convention.
There you go. You gotta go closer to that microphone because your voice is gone very, very low. Las
Vegas. You hear me better?
Not much better actually. Not much better actually. You might later on you might adjust the input of your mic. You can probably do that on your computer. You just toggle the receiving end of the microphone a little bit so that it gets a bit louder.
Okay. Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, I do hear you, but my volume is pretty much nearly full, and I can just hear you.
I'm going to Las Vegas on July 11th for 3 days.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be great. I'm it's a convention of like 20,000 people, and we have the MGM Grand Arena for 3 days, and but one thing that I think I mentioned him to you, Ed Milet.
What's that?
Ed Milet. He's
Ed Milet. Yeah.
Well, this gets back to something you were saying about people helping you. When nobody else seemed around and people helping you, and his father was an alcoholic, and ultimately his father stopped being an alcoholic, and it has inspired Ed Milet constantly ever since his father got sober. But he had a revelation, that one night, and he said, I realized that at one point, someone said to help my father get sober. And that changed my whole perspective about everything, because, to be able to say, I mean, in my own life, to be able to, I can't really think of anybody specifically, but I know there were people who, really, in the toughest times, just said something or did something that got me to the next point, to the next the next step on the bridge that I was going. I'm thinking about when I was in the hospital and everything. There were so many times when people would just say something. For instance, one time I was getting really paranoid. I was getting super paranoid. Now I never really experienced paranoia, but so I was walking back and forth and pacing and avoiding people and everything. And this one nurse, Pat, she just said, "Dale, you're paranoid," and bam, that completely opened my eyes to why I was suffering so much. And it was my life is full of those moments. That's just what I remember offhand. But just that specific moment where one or two words can change your whole perspective and your whole mindset. And I just like encourage people if they're feeling hopeless or if they're feeling alone, first off, you're never alone because God's always with you. But secondly, you know, just like have faith that the universe will help you through.
Amen to that. The universe, what is it? God helps who helps themselves. How is that
That's
saying?
actually not in the Bible.
Oh, he's not. I wish he was there.
I mean, everybody always quotes that, but I've read a lot of people say it's actually not. I think it's like maybe Benjamin Franklin said that or
Yeah,
somebody.
someone, but very wise person. Because
Right.
yes, obviously the universe and everything, but I always point out, and probably out of being a Buddhist and Buddhist philosophy, nobody's gonna do it for you if you don't do it for yourself. So yeah, all the affirmations and all of that is amazing. Obviously, it's a great new age and clickbaity kind of thing. Reality is just by pronouncing some affirmations and wishing things to happen, he ain't. It's like when what's his name?
Joe
Uh,
Dispenza.
no. The actor, what's his name? God, the Canadian actor, the one that did The Mask and all
Jim
of that.
Carrey.
Yeah, Jim Carrey, right? He said when he started, his family was kind of poor and whatever, and he wrote himself a check for $1 million, up ahead, and but then he took so much action, and eventually, he became for a time in his life one of the
It was
biggest.
$10 million. It was $10 million, which he got for The Mask, and he put the check inside his father's coffin when his father was buried.
There
But
you go,
but
right?
but the idea, I mean, basically, the idea is that through your conscious mind you can influence your subconscious mind, and really
Absolutely.
the idea is that the subconscious mind is 95% of what happens to you. And a lot of people don't like this idea, but uh, you know more and more it's becoming apparent that everything in your reality is something that you create. Reality is a self-created concept, and you make the reality that you create, that you're living. So the idea behind affirmations is to, through repetition in your conscious mind, is to reach your subconscious mind, so that your subconscious mind, which is 95% habit, habitual thought, you can change those habitual thoughts from one of negativity or helplessness to one of positivity and abundance. So I mean that's why I go on about this a little bit. And I know you're sort of skeptical about it, but the point is that the subconscious mind. I really do feel that the subconscious mind is like what controls reality, and therefore, the only way you can really influence the subconscious mind is to take control of it, and you do that through affirmations and through positive thinking and everything. So. I'm not saying it's gospel, but I'm saying, if you can, I do believe that if you can influence your subconscious mind, then you can change your reality. And I feel that the self awareness that I've gotten through my own journey has been a increasing awareness of the power of my conscious mind to influence my subconscious mind, because psychosis comes from the subconscious. It's like the feelings and the darkness of your subconscious mind overwhelms you, and it's just like a matter of getting it out and then transforming it through through conscious thought. So I'll just say that, and we'll agree to disagree. If I don't care about that.
No, I don't. No. Hang on. I don't say affirmations are not real. 100% they're real. For sure. They are real and very important to have. yet you can't just base yourself on that, because some people believe, okay, I'm going to just say that and just watch Netflix all day, and it's just going to happen. That
Right.
ain't going to happen. That's what I mean. All right.
Well,
That's what I mean. And sometimes the clickbaity message that I mean or refer is when people say that, oh, just put it out there, and just carry on, just put it out there. But if you do not take action, right, towards that affirmation, towards what you are trying to feed, nothing gonna change. It's just gonna be,
right.
just warm words that sound good but don't do nothing. Because not that the words don't do nothing, it's because you do not act upon the words that you say. That's what I mean.
Well, the idea, I meant the idea is, affirmations, but ultimately focused action is what really
Absolutely.
transforms the thing.
That's what I mean. I'm an affirmation kind of guy as well. You know what I mean? But you got to take action upon them, because otherwise nothing going to change.
Right.
And so yeah. It'd be good, right? Is you just get up in the morning and say a bunch of affirmations, just chill and just watch Netflix, and all of a sudden shit will gonna happen. That wouldn't be, that would be unfair to all the people who take action upon something, right?
Well, the other thing is physical action translates into programming for your subconscious mind. So if you
Right.
exercise, or if you read or whatever, everything
Feed.
goes into your subconscious mind, but it's filtered to the conscious. So if Netflix isn't the best idea.
No, it isn't, brother. All right, my man. I think that's a wrap. I got all this noise coming up in the back of my I'm just got a bunch of noise going on in the back of me, and I got to wrap this up. So but yeah, man, it's always a pleasure, always great to do these with you, and dive into a little bit more life and God and universes and whatever else, and hopefully make an impact.
I think we need more cosmic thinking.
For sure, for sure. All right, my man. Anything to wrap this up?
Well, I hope you like. What did you think of the poem?
I think the poem was awesome, man.
Thank you.
You can feel the difference between the beginning of the year and the ones you have now. There's so much happened. Honestly, today listening to that podcast, to that poem, was like, whoa, this is different than some older ones that I heard. I think there's a lot of transformation definitely happened within you, that is reflecting on those poems. They feel like really like deep, but not out here, really actually congruent to what life is about for you now, and all of that kind of stuff.
I agree. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for attending. I hope you liked this live. And Rodolfo, as ever, I love you, brother. And my new bro, Rodolfo D'Angeli. And just take care, everybody. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And thanks a lot, Rodolfo.
Absolutely, brother. I love you, man. I love doing these with you, and always a pleasure to do that, and an honor. So thank you for watching. If you are here, subscribe, follow, do whatever it is. Leave us a comment. Let us help us grow and provide even better content for you. Let us know what you would love to hear about, and we'll be back. So keep an eye on our next show, and we'll carry on the same way. So all the best to you. Much love. God bless you. I'm out. Ciao.
Ciao.